She thought cutting my daughter's hair was just a harmless act. She had no idea it would set off a chain reaction that would tear our family apart and force me to choose between keeping the peace or protecting my child at any cost. I thought I could survive one more boundary crossed, one more, it's not a big deal. But when my 5-year-old's dream was shattered with a single snip, I realized I was done being silent. I started documenting everything, planning my escape, and fighting back in ways they never saw coming. What happened next turned into a battle for custody, freedom, and my own sanity. And made me question, how far would you go to protect your child when the enemy is family? Watch the full story to find out how one woman found the courage to say enough. My name is Lily, and for the first 7 years of my marriage, I convinced myself that being the bigger person was a virtue. That keeping the peace was more important than being heard. That swallowing the little insults, the dismissive comments, the boundary pushes, especially from my mother-in-law Diane, was just part of being in a family. But everything changed because of a pair of scissors. And a picnic. I married Eric when I was 28. He was charming, reliable, safe. After a string of heartbreaks and one particularly toxic ex, Eric felt like a calm harbor. He came from a very traditional, tight-knit family. His mom Diane was involved. The kind of woman who had opinions about everything from our furniture to the color of the baby's nursery and felt entitled to voice them loudly. I didn't love it, but I figured I'd just set gentle boundaries, be respectful, and eventually she'd get used to me. I didn't understand then that women like Diane don't get used to anything. They assimilate you or break you down trying. Our daughter Mia was born 2 years into the marriage. She was quiet, observant, with this mop of bouncy, corkscrew curls that always made strangers smile. She hated loud noises, loved books, and never liked being the center of attention until she saw her first ballet class. I swear something changed in her that day. She watched those girls in pink tights like they were made of stardust. She turned to me and said, "I want to be one." I signed her up the next week. For the next year, ballet became our bond. Mia was still shy, but she bloomed during practice. She started asking to wear her leotard around the house. She'd twirl in the living room, arms too high, toes not quite pointed, but glowing. When her first recital was announced, she got serious. "I want a bun. Like the big girls." She started growing out her hair just for that. We made it a whole thing, picking out the tiara, watching YouTube bun tutorials. It mattered to her. The weekend before the recital, Diane invited us all to a family barbecue at her place. She said it was just a small get-together, burgers, lemonade, cousins running around the backyard. I hesitated. Mia's hair was finally the right length, and she was very particular about keeping it neat. But Eric insisted. "She's family. You always think the worst of her. Just come, enjoy it." So I packed Mia's sun hat and left the bun off for the day. We arrived just after noon. Diane greeted us with her usual air kiss and sharp eyes. "You didn't even do her hair," she said. "Looks like a rat's nest." I forced a smile. She wanted to wear it down today. It's for her recital. She's proud of it. Diane raised an eyebrow. It stung, but I let it go. I helped carry things into the kitchen while Eric disappeared into the backyard with a beer. The kids were playing. Laughter echoed from the lawn. I figured Mia was fine, she loved her older cousins and was used to Diane's snark. I was in the dining room setting out plates when I heard it, a sudden sharp sob from outside. My heart lurched. I dropped the stack of napkins and ran to the sliding door. What I saw made me freeze. Mia was sitting rigid on a patio chair. Her curls, her beautiful, months-grown curls, were scattered across the grass like petals. Diane stood beside her, holding a pair of dull kitchen scissors, smiling like she'd just planted a flower bed. "I fixed it," she said casually. She looked so messy. "This is better." For a second, I didn't move. I couldn't. My brain was still trying to compute what I was seeing: the hair on the ground, the scissors, Diane's pleased expression, and Mia's crumpled, trembling little body. Then I ran. I knelt in front of Mia. Her face was blotchy, tears pouring down her cheeks in frantic hiccups. She looked like she couldn't breathe. Her hair, what was left of it, was hacked into an uneven bob, tufts sticking out at wild angles. It looked like someone had done it blindfolded. "Oh my God, baby," I whispered, reaching for her. She flinched. My stomach dropped. Diane clicked her tongue. "Stop being dramatic. It's just hair. It'll grow back." I turned my head so slowly I could feel the muscles strain. "You cut her hair?" I said, my voice low. "Without asking me? Without asking her?" "She said it was hot," Diane said with a shrug. "She was sweating, poor thing. I thought I'd help. She's 5. You don't get to make decisions about her body. She's my granddaughter. She's my daughter." That's when Eric appeared, sipping from a solo cup, like nothing was wrong. "What's going on?" he asked, frowning at the tension. I stood, still holding Mia against my chest. "Your mom cut our daughter's hair." Eric blinked at Mia. "Ha! It's not that bad." "Not that bad?" He held up a hand. "I'm just saying, she probably meant well. It's not like she shaved her bald." Mia sobbed harder. I picked her up and walked inside without another word. I found our bag, grabbed the keys, and left the party. I didn't even buckle Mia into her booster seat properly before we were driving away. I just needed distance. Back home, I ran a bath. I tried to clean her up, calm her down, tell her it would be okay, but she was inconsolable. She kept touching her hair, looking at herself in the mirror and asking, "Why did Grandma do that?" I didn't want it like this. I wanted my ballerina bun. I didn't have an answer. I had rage. And guilt. And something else, curling inside me like smoke, a dawning understanding that this wasn't a one-time mistake. This was who Diane was. Who Eric let her be. And who I'd been tolerating, excusing, rationalizing for far too long. Later that night, when Mia was finally asleep, curled beside me like a barnacle, I went downstairs. Eric was on the couch, scrolling his phone like nothing happened. "We need to talk," I said. He didn't look up. "About what?" I stared at him. "Your mom violated Mia today. That wasn't just a haircut, it was a complete disregard for her autonomy. And for me. And you're acting like it's fine." "She cut her hair, Lily," he said, finally looking at me. "Not her leg off." "Jesus. You're overreacting." "I'm not. Mia is devastated. She didn't consent. You didn't either. But your mom just did it like she had every right." He sighed and tossed the phone aside. "Diane's old school. You know that. She doesn't mean harm. She was trying to help. Trying to control," I snapped. "She always is. And you let her." He rubbed his eyes. "You know what? Maybe if you weren't so sensitive, she wouldn't feel like she has to step in." The sentence landed like a slap. That was the moment something snapped. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But it was real. A shift inside me, like a door quietly closing behind a woman who finally realizes no one's coming to save her. I didn't fight with him. I didn't yell. I just turned, walked upstairs, and locked the bedroom door. Then I opened my laptop. I started researching therapists for children. I looked up custody laws. I created a new email account. A new cloud folder. I began writing everything I could remember, things Diane had said, the time she tried to give me a discipline by slapping her hand without asking me, the way Eric always defended her, even when I cried in frustration. I documented it all. Because Diane didn't just cut Mia's hair. She showed me exactly how powerless I was in my own family. And I wasn't going to stay powerless anymore over the next few days. I wore a mask so seamless that even Eric didn't see it slip. I went through the motions, making breakfast, folding laundry, checking emails, but inside, I was processing everything with a new clarity. Like I had finally adjusted to the smell of smoke and now saw the fire for what it was. Eric was distant, but not unusually so. That was part of the pattern. Anytime Diane did something out of line, he'd retreat instead of confront her. He thought I'd cool off. Apologize, maybe. But I wasn't cooling off. I was getting sharp. I found a therapist for Mia, a gentle woman named Dr. Hannah who specialized in childhood trauma and anxiety. She had soft eyes and a way of talking that made Mia feel safe. After the first session, Mia clung to her like she hadn't clung to anyone, not even me, since the haircut. She asked me if I liked my haircut, Mia whispered to me in the car afterward. I told her no. I told her I had a dream about my hair falling off like leaves. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles whitened. At night, while Eric watched TV or texted on his phone, I started combing through our digital life. I don't know what made me check his messages with Diane, maybe a hunch, maybe desperation. He never deleted anything. He wasn't tech-savvy enough to cover his tracks. What I found made my chest go cold. A week before the barbecue, he'd texted her. Lily's obsessing over Mia's hair. It's just curls. You'd think it was a crown or something. Diane had replied, it is a mess. You should have seen it last weekend. She's too attached to that kid, it's not healthy. Then, maybe I'll help her out. Sometimes kids need a little discipline. Discipline. She called cutting my daughter's hair without permission discipline. And Eric didn't push back. He replied, "Lol, don't go full crazy on her face with tears of joy." I sat there, reading those texts over and over, my hands shaking. Not just because of what she said, but because of what he didn't. The quiet approval. The complicity. The fact that I was sharing a life with someone who thought this was funny. I took screenshots. Emailed them to my secret account. I didn't trust my phone anymore. The next morning, Eric noticed I was distant. You okay? He asked while pouring his coffee. Fine, I said, flipping pancakes for Mia. You've been quiet. I smiled. Just tired. He nodded, satisfied. That was his pattern. If I didn't explode, it meant things were back to normal. And for once, I let him believe it. I wasn't fighting anymore, I was documenting. Planning. I reached out to a lawyer, a quiet, sharp woman named Marissa who listened carefully to every word I said. She cut your daughter's hair without consent, Marissa repeated slowly. And your husband didn't stop it. Didn't defend her. Then mocked you to the person who did it. Yes. You're not overreacting, Lily. This is about control. This is about autonomy. I'll help you. But we'll have to be smart. I walked out of that office with a plan. At home, I started backing up bank statements, insurance paperwork, and Mia's birth certificate. I stashed copies at my sister's house an hour away. I opened a new account in my name only. Meanwhile, Diane texted me once. Just once. Hope you've calmed down. Hair grows back. Family doesn't. I didn't respond. I just took a screenshot and added it to the file. The IT wasn't just about leaving. It was about proving that I had reason to. That was what Marissa drilled into me. The court doesn't care about feelings, she said. It cares about patterns, about risk to the child, about credibility. We're going to give them all three. So I kept smiling. I played the role of the reasonable wife while quietly unraveling the foundation underneath. The hardest part was hiding the tension from Mia. She was doing better, sleeping more, smiling in therapy, asking questions like, "Do you think my hair will be long again for the next recital?" But I knew she felt the shift too. Children always do. Eric started getting suspicious when I turned down Diane's invitation to Sunday dinner. She wants to apologize, he said. I looked at him. Did she say that? She said she wants to talk. That's not the same thing. He sighed. You're being stubborn. She's trying. No, I said. She's manipulating. And if you can't see that, then maybe you should go alone. He did. And I was glad. That night, Mia and I baked cookies together. Just us, the radio playing softly, her giggling at how much flour ended up on my shirt. For the first time in weeks, the house felt peaceful. I realized how rare that had become, how long I'd lived with background tension as if it was normal. 2 days later, Diane showed up at our door. I didn't let her in. She stood on the porch in a pastel blouse, holding a gift bag. I brought her a new hairbrush, she said with a smile. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. We're not doing this, Diane. She's my granddaughter. You can't keep her from me. I'm not keeping her from you. I'm protecting her from you. Her face changed then. The smile dropped. You think you're a better mother than me? You think your sensitivity is strength? I didn't flinch. I think Mia deserves to feel safe in her own body. You crossed a line. Eric won't let you do this, she snapped. He knows I was just trying to help. He told me you're becoming unstable. That you've changed. I have, I said. And thank God. She left in a huff. I called Marissa and documented the incident. Even had the porch camera footage saved. Meanwhile, things with Eric got worse. Not in big, explosive ways, in the quiet, eroding ones. He stopped sleeping in our room. He stopped asking how I was. One night, he told me, I miss when you weren't so controlling. That word again. Controlling. As if having boundaries was control. As if protecting our child was some kind of emotional tyranny. Then came the breaking point. I was walking past the home office when I heard him on the phone. His voice was low, angry. I don't know, Mom. She's different. Cold. Like she's preparing for something. I just want my wife back, but she's turning Mia against you. Against me. My throat went dry. It was like hearing someone talk about a stranger, except it was me. And this man, who promised to love and protect our daughter, was more worried about Diane's feelings than Mia's trauma. I filed for divorce the next week. Quietly. Strategically. Marissa submitted an emergency motion requesting temporary custody, citing Diane's intrusion and Eric's complicity. We included the screenshots, therapist notes, and footage. Eric was served on a Thursday morning. He came home that night, red-faced, furious. Are you serious? Yes. You're ruining this family. No, I said calmly. Your mother did. And you helped her. He called me cruel. Selfish. Said Mia would grow up without a father because I couldn't take a joke. But the truth was, she was already growing up without one because the man she called daddy didn't protect her when it mattered most. That night, I locked the bedroom door again. And this time, I slept in peace. Filing wasn't the hard part. Staying firm was. The moment Eric realized I wasn't bluffing, the mask came off. He stopped pretending to be the reasonable husband. He started sending long, angry texts at all hours, some begging, some accusing, some cruel. His tone whiplashed between "you're destroying everything" and "you're nothing without me." He also made it clear that he wasn't going to go down quietly. Diane, of course, escalated. She rallied Eric's family against me like a seasoned politician. Suddenly, cousins I hadn't spoken to in months were texting me passive-aggressive messages, you know she only meant well. Families fight, but you don't destroy them over a haircut. One even said, we're praying for you. You've clearly lost your way. I blocked them all. Mia and I moved into a small rental while the custody case moved forward. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Quiet. Safe. The first night, Mia asked if Diane knew where we lived now. No, sweetheart, I said. It's just us here. She nodded. Then she slept through the night for the first time in weeks. The legal process started slow, then sped up like a landslide. Eric requested joint custody, painting me as unstable and vindictive. He submitted statements from family members, none of whom had ever lived with us, and all of whom clearly got their talking points from Diane. But we had truth on our side. We had Dr. Hannah's testimony, describing Mia's distress and trauma. We had the screenshots of the texts between Eric and Diane. The doorbell camera footage. The emergency session Mia had when Diane tried to contact her at school, a move so brazen, even the court-appointed evaluator raised their eyebrows. The first custody hearing was surreal. Eric sat across from me, freshly shaved, wearing a navy suit. He looked like the man I'd married, calm, measured. But then he spoke. And it all unraveled. He minimized everything. Said I overreacted to a haircut. Claimed Diane had motherly instincts. Referred to Mia's panic as temporary confusion. The judge wasn't impressed. When it was my turn, I spoke softly. Clearly. I told the story without dramatics, just facts and impact. Mia didn't just lose her hair that day, I said. She lost trust. She lost autonomy. She learned that the adults around her could make decisions about her body without asking. And when she cried, she was told she was being dramatic. Marissa leaned in at the perfect moment and handed over the therapist's letter. The judge read it. Then he looked at Eric and said, "You're not accused of cutting her hair, Mr. Bennett. You're accused of allowing a pattern of boundary violations that negatively impact your daughter's well-being." Eric flinched. We didn't get a ruling that day. But I could feel the momentum shift. Back at home, Mia was drawing at the kitchen table. She looked up when I walked in and asked, "Do I have to see Grandma again?" I knelt down beside her. "Not if I can help it." She smiled. Just a little. But it was real. In the weeks that followed, Eric tried to regain control. He showed up unannounced once, pounding on the door, yelling through it that I was poisoning our daughter against him. I called the police. Logged the incident. Sent the footage to Marissa. Each time he lost control, it worked in our favor. And with every small win, Mia stood a little taller. Her drawings got brighter. She started dancing again, in socks on the hardwood floor, spinning like the world wasn't so heavy anymore. I was exhausted. But I was also resolute. This wasn't just about getting away from Eric and Diane. It was about giving Mia a life where no meant no. Where her body was her own. Where silence wasn't the price of peace. The final stretch of the custody battle was brutal in ways I never expected. It wasn't dramatic courtroom showdowns, it was endless paperwork, interviews, and the quiet humiliation of having your life dissected by strangers. Every day, I steeled myself for the next round of questions, the next attempt from Eric's lawyer to twist my words, the next manipulative email from Diane pretending to miss Mia's laugh. Eric played the dutiful father in front of the judge, showing up to every mediation in a new shirt, talking about co-parenting and putting Mia first. But behind the scenes, he was desperate. The more the case went on, the more his mask slipped. I documented every voicemail, every time he showed up at Mia's school without warning, every time he tried to guilt-trip me over text. Our final hearing lasted all day. Eric's lawyer started with a polished speech about family bonds and healing wounds. Then he tried to paint me as controlling, too attached, too protective, denying Eric's role as a father. He even brought up my secret bank account and moving out as evidence I was planning this for months, like it was a crime to prepare for my own safety. Then Diane took the stand. She sat up straight, pearls at her throat, and lied through her teeth. I only wanted to help Mia. Her hair was a mess, she was uncomfortable. Lily is sensitive, she always has been. I never meant harm. I'm heartbroken that I'm being made out to be a monster. She looked right at me when she said it, as if daring me to say otherwise. But Marissa was relentless. She cross-examined Diane until the cracks started to show, pointed out her texts, the way she'd showed up uninvited, the call to Mia's school. When Diane insisted she had grandmother's rights, Marissa asked, "Did you ever apologize to Mia?" Diane stammered. "She's a child. She'll forget." The judge's expression told me everything. Finally, Dr. Hannah spoke. She described Mia's panic attacks, her night terrors, her newfound fear of adults touching her hair. "This is about more than a haircut," she said. "It's about bodily autonomy and trust." I watched Eric's face as Dr. Hannah spoke. For the first time, I saw real doubt in his eyes. When it was my turn, I looked at the judge and told the truth. All I've ever wanted was for my daughter to feel safe. When someone shows her she isn't, and the people she trusts don't protect her, that changes her. I'm just trying to keep that from happening again. The judge sat quietly for a long moment. Then he announced he would rule the next day. That night, I barely slept. Mia curled up next to me, clutching her stuffed rabbit, her short hair tickling my arm. I watched her breathe and promised myself, no matter what happened, she would never doubt whose side I was on. When the call finally came, I was ready. The next morning, I stood in my tiny kitchen, phone in hand, heart pounding so loud I barely heard the judge's voice. But his words were clear: I would have primary custody of Mia. Eric would get supervised visitation for the first 6 months, and Diane was barred from unsupervised contact altogether. For a moment, I just stood there in shock. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just let the relief wash over me, as if I'd been holding my breath for years and finally let it out. When I told Mia, she hugged me so tight my ribs ached. "Can I grow my hair long again now?" she whispered. "Yes, baby. However you want." Eric didn't call. Diane sent one last email, a bitter, rambling thing about forgiveness, about family unity, about how I'd poisoned Mia against her. I archived it without reading to the end. Life didn't magically get easier after that. There were days I doubted myself, nights Mia still woke up crying. The first time she saw scissors in the bathroom, she asked, "Are you going to cut my hair?" It broke my heart, but I reassured her, "Not unless you want me to. Your hair is yours, always." We made new routines. Therapy became a constant, not just for Mia, but for me too. I learned how to untangle my own guilt, to stop blaming myself for trusting the wrong people, for letting things slide out of politeness. I started saying no without apologizing. One Saturday, months later, Mia came home from ballet class, hair finally grazing her shoulders. She spun around the living room, grinning. "Can we do the bun now?" she asked. I smiled and pulled out the bobby pins and the sparkly tiara we'd picked together so many months ago. As I twisted her curls up, I realized I was finally putting the pieces of our lives back together, not the same as before, but stronger. Real. Ours. Mia looked at herself in the mirror and beamed. "Do I look like a ballerina?" "You look like you," I told her. "And that's perfect." And for the first time in a long time, I meant it.